All right. So back at the COP28 climate conference, the world made this huge promise, right? A promise to really kick climate action into high gear by 2030. But, making a promise is the easy part. Following through, that's a whole different story. So today, let's get into it. Are we actually keeping that promise?
So that's the big question, isn't it? Are we on track? Well, lucky for us, a brand new report from the International Renewable Energy Agency just dropped, and it's basically our first big comprehensive scorecard. It gives us a really critical look at where we stand as we're all gearing up for the next major climate summit, COP30. Okay, so what exactly was this promise? It all comes down to what's called the UAE Consensus, and it set two, honestly, massive goals. The whole idea was to keep that crucial 1.5-degree warming target within reach. And the plan? First, triple our renewable energy capacity. And second, double the rate we're improving energy efficiency, all by 2030. Sounds simple enough, but trust me, pulling it off is a whole other level of ambition.
All right, so let's start with that first goal, tripling renewables. How are we doing? Well, the report card is kind of a mixed bag. There's some really impressive progress for sure. But there are also some pretty serious gaps we absolutely have to talk about.
Okay, let's start with the good news, because there is some. The world added a record-breaking 582 gigawatts of new renewable power in 2024. And get this, that's the third year in a row we've smashed the record. So you can feel that momentum is building, which is great to see. But here comes the reality check. To actually hit that 2030 target, we need to be adding more than 1,100 gigawatts every single year. So yeah, that 582 gigawatts is a record, and that's fantastic, but it's still less than half the speed we need to be going. It's kind of like we're running a marathon, but the finish line is moving away from us.
So that gap between where we are and where we need to be, it adds up. It creates a projected shortfall of 0.9 terawatts. And I know that number sounds huge and abstract, so to put it in perspective for you, imagine all the renewable energy currently installed in North, Central, and South America combined. That's how much we're on track to miss by. It is just a staggering amount.
And when you break it down, you see one technology is doing almost all the heavy lifting. I mean, look at this. Solar PV is the absolute star student here, right? It accounts for over 3/4 of all the new capacity. But the problem is, while solar is crushing it, it can't carry the whole class. Wind, hydro, all the other renewables, they're lagging way, way behind.
And it's not just what we're building, it's where. The rollout is incredibly uneven. You've got over 85% of all this new renewable power packed into just 3 places: Asia, Europe, and North America. And that leaves huge parts of the world, like Africa, which has just massive potential for renewables, getting left far, far behind in this transition.
Okay, let's switch gears and look at the second half of that promise, energy efficiency. Now, if renewables were a story of mixed success, well, this one, unfortunately, is looking like a story of almost total failure so far.
So remember the goal? To double the global rate of energy efficiency improvement? The math on that is pretty straightforward. It means we need to get 4% better at using energy every single year, like clockwork.
So, what do we actually manage? Just a 1% improvement. 1%. We're off by a factor of 4. And what that means is, just to catch up, we now have to hit a 5% improvement every year for the rest of the decade. And that is a much, much tougher hill to climb. And a huge piece of this efficiency puzzle is electrification, basically switching things from fossil fuels over to clean electricity. But here again, progress is just lagging. I mean, just look at transport. It's only 1% electrified. To hit our climate goals, that number needs to jump all the way to 7% by 2030. That means we need a massive, massive acceleration in things like electric vehicles.
So why the bad grades? Why are we falling so short on these really critical goals? Well, the report points to a few major roadblocks that are holding this whole transition back. First up, and no surprise here, it's about the money. In 2024, the world invested around $600 billion in renewables. And yeah, that sounds like a ton of cash. But what we actually need is closer to $1.5 trillion every year. So we're investing less than half of what's required, year after year, just to hit that one goal of tripling renewables. But it's not just about writing a bigger check. The entire system needs a serious upgrade. I'm talking about outdated grids that literally can't handle all the new clean power, permitting processes that can drag on for years. You've got high financing costs that kill projects before they even start, especially in developing countries. And then there are supply chain bottlenecks for even basic stuff. And
maybe most importantly, the actual policies that countries are putting in place, they're just not ambitious enough to get us there.
Okay, so the situation is definitely urgent. But the report is really clear on this one point. The goals are still achievable. It is not too late. And it actually lays out a pretty clear action plan for policymakers, especially with that huge COP30 summit in Brazil coming up.
The Global Renewables Alliance basically boils it all down to three main priorities. It's a really clear roadmap. Number one, countries have to set way more ambitious national targets. Number two, they need to get serious about removing all those barriers we just talked about, the grids, the permits, all of it. And number three, they have to close that finance gap, especially for emerging markets. It's pretty simple, really. Set the targets, clear the obstacles, and fund the solution.
And it's really important to remember, this isn't just about dodging the worst of climate change. The big takeaway here is that getting this right isn't just a cost, it's a huge opportunity. Hitting these goals unlocks massive economic and social benefits for everybody. We're talking more jobs, more economic growth, and better energy security for all.
So, look, the data is crystal clear. The pace we're on right now just isn't going to cut it. But the plan to fix it is right there in front of us, and the rewards for succeeding are enormous. The goals are still within reach. The only question left is whether we're going to pick up the pace and act in time.